Welcome to mediamelanie TV. Today I'm back to talk about the Buccaneers Season 2, Episode 7 on Apple TV+. It is in fact the penultimate episode of the season. It's called All Rise. And just given the fact that there's only one episode left this season, I'm thinking we're probably going to get a pretty big cliffhanger heading into Season 3, which hasn't been confirmed yet, but just given Apple's generally low cancellation rate, I'm optimistic. First and foremost, we got a 6-week time jump from Richard's tragic death, which, by the way, I am still reeling from. The fact they took away one of the most lovable characters and broke up one of the first couples we've seen in this entire series was absolutely shattering, and I think there's a lot of mixed feelings about it within the fandom. It seems like sentiments are, why did they take him away from us? But on the other side of it, I give the writers props for eliciting such a strong emotional reaction and making this death happen, which they've talked about. They thought it was the best way to move this story forward. And thankfully, Seadown is paying for this crime in prison, and they didn't do anything crazy like framing Jinny, which for a moment I was thinking, okay, maybe they're gonna do that, but glad they didn't, because let's face it, the poor girl has just been through the ringer at this point. And now her and Conchita can try to move forward together now that they've also had this talk, and Conchita has acknowledged that she's been going through a lot, and her and Jinny were actually able to have a conversation and rekindle their friendship. But seriously, between the courtroom drama, the surprise reunions, and then that big reveal at the end of this episode, I am here for it, and in today's video, I'm going to do a full review, share my reactions, and talk a little bit about what we could potentially see in the Season 2 finale. Initial reaction, Nan carrying that earring with her overseas, like, girl, are you okay? Do we believe that she would carry this single earring all the way to New York and just sit there and stew about it this entire time? Eventually, we are going to get the reveal that it's Lizzie's earring, as we saw at the end of the episode. But a big discussion point at this point is, does Nan even have the right to be upset with Lizzie for getting with Theo? Now, okay, girl code, you don't want to be sloppy seconds to one of your best friend's men, especially a husband who is a duke. Conversely, when you tell said friend that you are not into him and have another guy lined up on the side who is in fact your true love, is it okay for Nan to be upset with Lizzie? What is her reaction going to be, and how is she going to confront her? Will Lizzie admit it, or is Nan going to catch her in a lie, trying to sort of cover her tracks? Very interested to see how that all plays out in the finale, or potentially a cliffhanger. But I'm just thinking we're probably going to see things go down between Lizzie and Nan. Speaking of Nan, I was glad and ecstatic to see that Guy followed her all the way to New York to support her. And they don't seem to have been there for a long time. The fact that he made that trip to be her friend and support her, first of all, we all know they're more than friends and they're going to be fighting for each other here. The way they mirrored that staircase scene as a callback to the first time they met, all while Taylor Swift's Lover is playing, that was 10 out of 10 for me. I also thought it was really cute when Nan potentially got recognized on the street and they were playing it off like, oh no, she's not the Duchess. That was really cute and just so endearing. I love Nan Guy. I do think they're endgame, but it's also just not going to be that easy. I'd imagine there's going to be another complication arise. And with this one episode left in the season, is it going to be that Nan is pregnant and potentially with Theo's baby instead of Guy's? Did anybody notice in this episode, Nan turned down a drink with alcohol? Now, I'm not sure how savvy they were at this time with knowing that alcohol wasn't good when you're pregnant, but perhaps it was something intentional, indicating that Nan knows she's going to be having a baby here. And that's why she turned down the drink. Now, it could be nothing. It could be that maybe somebody else is going to be pregnant in the finale, or nobody at all. I mean, we already have Nell pregnant after all with her new husband, Arthur. But we've got some potential for Nan, Lizzie, or even Paloma to be pregnant, who we saw at the end of this episode coming back and introducing herself as Guy's wife. I love to see Patty dominating this New York City court scene after they were really trying to smear her in court. Fortunately, her sister Nell ended up doing the right thing, taking the stand and confirming that she was in fact Tracy's mistress and that they yielded a child together in Nan, who also took the stand, and it confirms my belief that Nan has actually known the entire time that Nell was her mom, or at least she had very strong suspicions, and of course now that is confirmed. And the way she was passive-aggressively being like, well, I know that if my real natural mother were here, that she would do the right thing, right? While she's staring like death daggers at Nell. And there's just been so much bravery at play with the female empowerment of it all, from Patty being willing to put herself out there in public like that to find some self-happiness and get away from this philandering jerk in Tracy. And also for Nan to basically give no Fs about what people think about her and being willing to put herself out there and be further looked at by this entire society when she is in fact a duchess. Not only that, but I thought it was really cute that Arthur supported Nell in her choice to take the stand, especially given that she's pregnant with his child. And if it went the other way, she would in fact be almost right back where she started in terms of being a single mom who is labeled a lot of names that women were called back then in that situation. Good for you, Arthur. We finally got another good guy here. Now that Richard's gone, we need all the good guys we can get. And now that Seadown is in jail, who is going to be the next villain? I mean, every story has to have a villain, right? Are we looking at Hector, who's going to find out about Lizzie and Theo and do something rash, perhaps? Or are they just going to make Lady Brightlingsea the villain of it all, who is just terrible? And I loved the moment between Mabel and Honoria. And when Honoria put her mom in her place, she's had that coming. And now Lady Brightlingsea is going to be left alone with Conchita because Honoria is going to France, Seadown is in prison, and Richard is in fact dead. So that dynamic is going to be very interesting moving forward. Conchita is doing her best to stay strong for Minnie and move through this the best way that she can, which for her is not wearing black, wearing bright colors, and just being a good mom, which props to Conchita because there were certain expectations of women back then, especially women in mourning. And when she showed up wearing green instead of black at Richard's memorial, I was so here for that. The way this episode ended with Paloma showing up and revealing the fact that her and Guy got married in Italy, the finale is going to be wild. And yeah, there are quite a few dangling threads to resolve at this point. So like I said, I'm expecting some sort of big cliffhanger. What do you guys think? Now, I will be putting out a video with my preview and finale predictions, so don't miss that when it drops. But also feel free to drop all of your thoughts, theories, and predictions here down in the comments. And you know what, while you're at it, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I've been covering the Buccaneers all season long, and now I'm also covering The Summer I Turned Pretty, along with Dexter Resurrection and The Institute. So lots going on here at the channel, and I really appreciate everybody who's stuck with me for all of this TV talk. So first, getting into the New York courtroom drama. As I mentioned, Nan traveled all the way there with this single earring. But does she have a right to be upset about this? I knew that it would come into play somehow because they wouldn't have just put the earring there for no reason at all. But seriously, like, Nan, are you okay? Why did she bring this with her? Just so she could be miserable the entire time? She could have really done this differently and been in a better headspace there to support her mom, which, I mean, yeah, she totally did. But obviously, she's got this whole earring thing running through the back of her mind. But then a nice distraction shows up in Guy, which I just love. I love Nan Guy. I completely think they are endgame here. But I'm wondering if that will be derailed for two reasons. A, because Paloma shows up, and B, because Nan may end up focusing so much on this missing earring, and when she finds out it's Lizzie, her best friend, who's been with Theo, stuff's gonna hit the fan. By the way, that needle drop of New York from St. Vincent was a really great way to start out this episode. It's funny because I was first thinking, oh, you know, Taylor Swift, welcome to New York. That would be a really great way to open the episode. But in fact, we did get the Taylor Swift lover needle drop for that Guy and Nan staircase scene, which I was so here for. But what I loved most about the courtroom scene was Patty not being afraid to put herself out there in the first place and stand up against a man who's been a complete jerk and who is trying to prove Patty wrong and pretend like he wasn't a philanderer out there having all those affairs. And they did have some of his mistresses lined up and ready to go, but once they started smearing Patty, they took off, and there was really no other choice but for Nan and then Nell to take the stand to make this all go away and shed Patty in a better light and show that Tracy is in fact exactly the man that Patty said he was. I was horrified for Patty at points during this trial, especially when they started bringing up how they initiated things between them and she had to say she went and sat on his lap, and the way they were saying that she was still intimate with him even though she had knowledge of these other women. Who cares? And this just could not have played out better. I am so happy that Patty is free. And what would be really amazing is if Patty traveled to England and met a fine man who treated her well, just like she deserves, similar to how Nell has found Arthur, who's been very supportive. And it's also very interesting that they're showing Nell as pregnant, which made me think, okay, maybe we won't get another storyline with one of the younger cast members. But I also think that was meant to elicit a certain feeling within Nan, like, hey, I'm going to have a half sibling here, and the feelings that brings up within her, and probably a little bit of bitterness as well for having been abandoned by her natural mother. Of course, there's a lot of complexities at play, given that it is her mom's sister, but the way Nan wasn't afraid to call out her mom and try to compel her natural mother, Nell, to do the right thing. Nan is afraid of nobody, and that's why I love her as a character. Now, she gets a lot of fandom hate. I put out a whole video on that topic, but for me, she's young, she's immature, and she's used her power and her voice to the best of her ability. Look at everything she did for her sister, who ended up disregarding and making everything all for naught, which essentially got Richard, Nan's other friend, Conchita's husband, killed. What really got me, though, is when Nan took the stand and was essentially like, hey, I'm the most famous illegitimate child there is. She does not care what people think. And for me, that is very empowering, just as empowering as her using her power and her voice to help other people. Because here she is again, helping her mom get away from her dad. She was helping her sister. Now Nan needs to help herself work things out with Guy and figure out how she's going to move forward after this bombshell that Guy is married to a woman from Italy, and eventually that Lizzie, her best friend, has been with her husband. Overall, though, we did get a lot of closure on the Patty and Tracy storyline. The divorce is now final. And watching Patty come out the other side of this a winner and empowered, what a win for the show. Now, back in England, I did mention there was a 6-week time jump. Lady Brightlingsea is still there mourning for her son, but let's face it, she is partly to blame for this whole situation. Not that she knew that Richard would end up dying, but the way that she orchestrated things, where Seadown was staying and holding Jinny and Freddie there, and basically shaming Conchita for not mourning properly, and being too good of a mom to Minnie, which is of course not the words that she used. Lady Brightlingsea is just terrible, and I completely understand why Seadown was as awful as he was. But how did Honoria and Richard turn out so well with such an awful mother? I guess one of my biggest hopes at this point is that we don't have to see Seadown again. Will he be staying in prison for good? Is there any world in which he gets out and tries to come and get back with Jinny and Freddie? I mean, I certainly hope not. And I wonder also what this means for Jinny. Will she be able to find another man, or is she basically a pariah in society now, given everything that she's been through with Seadown and the way that she's been painted in public? I was very happy to see Conchita and Jinny having this cake and forgiveness talk. At the core of the show, this is all about friendships and strong females and them coming back together and acknowledging that, okay, we had some problems, but Conchita realizing that Jinny is a friend, and Jinny being patient and waiting for Conchita to come with her. It was also nice to see some resolution there. And the moments between Honoria and Conchita, Honoria giving Conchita that letter that Richard had written her along with that stuffed pig. Like I said, I'm still not over this death, and while it has been quite polarizing, and don't get me wrong, it sucks that Richard's gone. I loved him and Conchita as a couple, but anytime a show can literally rip out your heart by the strings, put it on the floor, and stomp all over it and make you feel so angry at a show's decision to take out a character, I mean, credit where it's due for making us feel all of these emotions for a character that they developed so well to make us love like that and then take him away. For me, it's actually okay. Still very devastating, don't get me wrong. I loved Conchita and Richard as a couple. Like I said, they were one of the first love stories we've seen in this show, which is based on all of the young love and now older love, now that we've got Reed and Dowager as well. But it also kind of sucks for Conchita now because, like I said, she's going to be stuck there with Lady Brightlingsea, with Seadown in prison, Richard gone, and Honoria going off to France, which, by the way, I am so happy to see that she's going to go. The way Mabel supported her and the way Honoria went over and kissed Mabel right in front of her mom, there is no better revenge than that. And that is a moment I think we've all been waiting for this entire season. I did another video on Mabel and Honoria being endgame. And even though Honoria is going to go off and do her own thing, kiss some other girls, explore the world, Mabel supporting her and who knows, even ultimately being there when she gets back at some point. That's the definition of true love. When you love somebody, you let them go. And that's exactly what's going on here. And Honoria, what a character arc. Starting out as meek, somebody under Lady Brightlinsea's thumb, but her journey of finding herself, finding love, and now finding the strength to publicly, or at least amongst her group of friends and her mother, show who she really is. One of my favorite storylines this entire season, and one of my favorite couples, Mabel and Honoria. Even if they're not necessarily together, I am holding out hope that eventually they will find their way back and there will be some sort of happy ending for them. The moments between Theo and Dowager I thought were actually a little bit endearing. I like to see Dowager happy with Reed, and they have a whole conversation about it. Theo's like, hey, why didn't you go to him after my dad died? And she's like, well, because of the other man in my life, referring to Theo. Dowager may not have always been a really likable character, but if nothing else, she's been a great mom to Theo, always looking out for his best interest. Now, was she pretty surprised when Theo is like, hey, I love Lizzie, and she's like, Hector's Elizabeth? And he's like, no, my Lizzie. I was like, wow. And this is another polarizing topic, right? The quick escalation of Theo and Lizzie getting together as a couple, because by all accounts, there was not a lot of chemistry or even interaction between the two in season 1. A lot of people seem to be also arguing that other couples escalated pretty fast, and that's totally fair, but just given the fact that they were both taken by other people and Lizzie's best friend, for me, I still think it moved pretty fast and took a little bit to actually buy these characters together. But the chemistry and the passion that these two exude right off the screen, and this extra layer of drama and tension with the earring and them almost getting caught at one point, it makes me wonder, is Nan going to walk in on them perhaps, and that's how she's going to find out? Or now that Mabel has confirmed that the earring is Lizzie's, is Nan going to confront her directly? And if so, will Lizzie tell the truth or will she lie about it? I'm thinking this is one of the storylines that we will get a very succinct resolution to in the finale, or is Nan going to be so occupied with the whole Paloma is married to Guy thing that she sets that aside? Really interested to see how this all plays out. So, some questions moving into the finale. Is there going to be a pregnancy besides Nell, of course? Is it possible that Nan could be pregnant and that's why she turned down the drink? What if Paloma is showing up because she is in fact carrying Guy's baby? It seems like it might be a little too quick for her to find out that she's pregnant. But even if she's not, is Guy going to remember marrying her in the first place? And he's like, what is she talking about? I mean, obviously Guy was into her. We saw him at the farmer's market getting all those beautiful flowers. But at the same time, Paloma is kind of a rebound, right? And the Nan and Lizzie earring confrontation, is that going to happen or not? And will Hector potentially emerge as the new villain here and find out about Theo and Lizzie, perhaps from Nan, perhaps from somebody else? And is he going to do something drastic to elevate himself to the next villain here now that Seadown is gone? And will we ever see Seadown again, or is he going to be imprisoned for life? For me, I hope he's gone. I hope we never see him again. Because it also makes sense that if he was in fact in prison for killing his brother, that's probably going to be a pretty long sentence. If anything, maybe we'll see Jinny bringing Freddie to visit him. But at this point, I don't even know if I really expect that to happen at all. And then Nan and Nell, are they going to be able to build a relationship? I'd imagine Nan has perhaps a different perspective on her natural mother now that she did the right thing and testified and presented all of the proof that nobody else could have, even any of those mistresses who were set to testify. Without all of those signed letters and proof of everything, Nell was the key to making this divorce happen for Patty and painting Tracy like the asshole that he is. I have not liked Tracy from the beginning, and I like that Nan sees him for who he is, because I think a lot of times in those situations, daughters want to see their dad as their hero, as the good guy. And the fact that Nan didn't just lean into that or buy into it because of the times and supported her mom from start to finish, give the woman some credit here. But most importantly, there's only one episode left in the season. And like I said, I'm going to put out a trailer review for the final episode, along with some predictions about what I think could happen to wrap the season up. But I'd also love to know, what do you guys think? What are your biggest hopes, theories, and thoughts heading into this final episode? Like I said, I imagine we're going to get a season 3 that tracks with the way that Apple does shows. Most of Apple's shows are multi-season, so probably we'll get some season 3 renewal news at some point. And Buccaneers has been floating around that top 10 shows on Apple. So let's all manifest a 3rd season. And Edith Wharton's novel, The Buccaneers, is actually unfinished, so that also gives a little bit of leeway for them to sort of finish the story however they want. And there's another Buccaneers TV series, which I actually have not watched, and I'm not sure how that one ends. So I'm curious, are they going to make this one follow that prior series? I've heard that a lot of the characters are portrayed very differently. And I'm thinking that I actually may read the book after season 2, just to give myself a little bit of context on who these characters have been painted to be across other mediums. I really appreciate you tuning into this review video, and like I said, I've got lots of other TV talk happening here on the channel, including The Summer I Turned Pretty's 3rd and final season on Prime Video. Are you Team Conrad? Are you Team Jeremiah? Or are you Team Belly Chooses Herself? If you watch, you know what I'm talking about. Also covering Dexter Resurrection on Paramount Plus with Showtime. And by the way, this is the best Dexter spinoff there has been yet. And if you're not watching and you're a Dexter fan, cannot recommend it enough. By the time episode 4 hit, I am all in on the show. The list of guest stars is just absolutely off the charts, and this one is a must watch. And I'm also covering The Institute on MGM Plus, which is a Stephen King adaptation, giving these dark Stranger Things vibes. And if you're not watching that, and especially if you like Mary Louise Parker from Weeds, you should also give that one a go. You can get the MGM Plus trial or add it onto your Amazon Prime subscription. And while you're there, as I've been saying, you should binge the show From. It's got 3 seasons, very spooky mystery box type of show. All right, well, I'm going to be back with more Buccaneers content, so be sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss any of it. And again, thank you to everybody who's been here along with me for the Buccaneers this season. It is a lot of fun talking about this TV show, and I am on a journey to become a full-time TV content creator. So every single time that you watch, you like, you comment, you subscribe, it all really helps me get one step closer to that goal. So thank you very much, and I will be back again very soon. Media Melanie, clicking off.